second episode of Curious Conversations. What a response we've had from the first one, mate. How sick was that?
I know, it's been
So
amazing.
good. So
Not
good.
from members, from
Mate, non-members
people
as well.
on Instagram,
There's a few
family,
people-
friends.
A few people that I didn't even know that sent me over a message and said to me they really enjoyed it, so, and took a lot away from it. So that was kind of what we were wanting for people. Like when we were putting out, we wanted people to kind of pick up what we were saying and kind of think about things in a certain way. Kind of things that we've been implementing into our own life that have helped us improve. So it was a great response.
Yeah,
Gassed.
and I think that's all this is. It's just
Totally.
what we've learned, what we've implemented, what's worked for us with
Yeah.
certain things, and it's never going to be the same for everyone, but it can hopefully one little thing each episode people can take away from
Totally.
and implement into their life. That's the most important thing, is to, if you hear it, implement it as well,
Implement it, yeah.
because there's so much out there which we're going to actually talk about today in
100%.
detail.
So obviously last week it was a little bit more kind of questions about each other, just to allow people to kind of get to understand what type of people we are, what our kind of background is and stuff like that. But this week we're starting on topics, on things that we want to talk about and things that we've implemented into our lives that have helped us improve. So what are we kicking off with?
We're going to talk about solitude.
Yeah.
We had a conversation during the week that we thought, why don't we speak about this on the pod, because it's so important, and I don't think it's really talked about and people aren't really aware of in particular.
Nah, I don't think so.
And
I wasn't aware of it until like 3 weeks ago.
Now you're an expert on it.
Now I'm an expert, literally. No, it's definitely, solitude is definitely something that I've kind of installed into my routine the past kind of, I probably would say past kind of 3 weeks. And it's just made a huge difference for me. People that don't know what solitude is, it's basically just kind of having time for yourself and kind of being alone and not kind of having any outside noise. So like you're not kind of listening to music, or you're not kind of on your phone scrolling, things like that. Just being yourself and really giving yourself the chance to think about your thoughts. Basically, we say that all the time. We are people that think about our thoughts. So that shows kind of how in depth we can get. So yeah, how would you like to kick us off?
Well, yeah, you've kind of explained what it actually is first,
Yeah.
but I will ask you a question on it.
Go for
first.
it, mate. Go for it.
Why do you make time for solitude?
I think for my situation, like if you think about it, right, there's so many people, like I think most people in this world, not even like in our space, everyone in this world wakes up with like their kind of phone alarm, and then they go straight to their phone, and that just kind of, I think that starts the day off kind of bad. I think that I used to do that all the time, and you just straight off the bat you're waking up and just consuming. We're in a generation and a world now of just consume, and we were speaking about that a little bit earlier on and saying kind of that's why people's attention spans aren't there anymore, because they're just so used to consuming things. Like for example, as I said with the phone, waking up, as soon as you wake up you grab your phone, on social media, scroll, consume. Even like reading reading a book or reading like a fucking newspaper or something like that, it's consume. Having that time for you in the morning, it doesn't need to be so long, mate. It doesn't need to be long. It can be 10 minutes, sitting down, having your coffee, just be with yourself. And the more and more you improve that, I feel like the less busy your mind gets, because that's just the kind of biggest improvement I've found with doing it. I just feel like I want to be with myself more, because I've got that time to think now, and it just feels really good for me, and it just allows me to kind of organise my whole day and myself a little bit better.
Yeah, organising your thoughts is like a massive thing. I think you're so right. It's the consumption of a daily basis, but we're in a world where it's so in your face. It's so hard to not pick up your phone, and I understand why people do it.
Totally.
Because they wake up in the morning, they usually use their phone as their alarm, so they'll turn their alarm off. Then the notifications are there straight
Just
away.
goes.
and then your mind's just going
Totally,
a
and then
million
you're
miles an hour
replying to the
straight away.
notifications, and then they're coming in again and again, and you're like, oh, I forgot to message this person,
Yeah.
coming in and then by the time you know it, it's like 1 p.m.
Yeah.
and all you've done that day is look at your phone and scroll for your phone.
From the second that you get up, literally, and it's like
Literally.
you've got the notifications there. It's somebody messaged you something. It could be something that annoys you,
Yeah.
or even worse,
It
people
kicks it, like,
that are like read the news straight away. Like
Oh.
that's madness to me.
Insane.
Ever since COVID, I've not watched the news once. Like, and I've known things
Yeah.
that I need to know.
Yeah.
That I want
know.
to control.
Totally. It gets it. Like, that's the thing. I feel like it sounds so obvious, like in terms of you shouldn't you shouldn't go straight on your phone as you wake up, but everyone does it.
Yeah.
Straight off the rip. So I think that it's just super important to kind of have those moments of solitude. Like, for example, it doesn't need to be like when you, like, straight off the bat wake up. Like, of course, probably best time for you to do it. But it's just a matter of kind of like when you go on a walk, rather than putting in your headphones and listening to music, just be with yourself. Put the phone down, put the phone in the pocket, zip it up, and just be with yourself. Think about things, think about anything, and just allow you to kind of get a little bit more comfortable with your own head and with your own kind of mind space. Again, another example, when you're sitting down sitting down for a coffee, you're in a coffee shop and your kind of instant habit is to have your coffee and scroll through TikTok or Instagram. Think about switching your phone off, put it to the side, put it face down, and just have your coffee and sit with yourself. I think it's so valuable. And I think that's a great trait someone can have. See if you can enjoy being yourself and being alone. That is one of the best traits you can have, I think. And it's definitely something that I'm trying to work on.
Goes back to that. Remember the quote that I was telling you, and it's Blaise Pascal, and he's like from the 16. He's from like the 1600s. It's a writer, and he says most of man's problems stem from the inability to sit in a room by himself with his thoughts. And it's like
Mad.
It's so true. Like, you create so many problems in your head after you've consumed things. Again,
Totally.
Consumption comes down to a lot of you'll compare yourself to other people, or you'll find something out that spikes your cortisol, and you're just in a stress state all day.
100%.
And it's I think that if you do take time for yourself, I recommend the morning as well. I think the morning is the most peaceful time, and why I always talk about why I love getting up early is because the world is quiet, no one's there.
I think that a good quote that I've heard from Ben Bergeron as well: if you win the morning, you win the day.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true. That's so true. I've always found that for myself. See, if I have a bad morning and I start it off bad, and we've got a bad sleep, and then I kind of retract to going on my phone, or I don't really kind of focus on having a nutritious breakfast or something like that, and bang, like straight back against the wall, and it kind of messes up my full day. So that's one kind of habit that I've implemented into my kind of routine, is win the morning to win the day. And it's been a huge thing. One thing I wanted to touch up on the Pascal quote, it's mad because we were talking about like this generation, like this kind of time of the world, like this time in our world. It's now like that. Like, people don't understand like solitude, and it's kind of just happened. Mate, this guy's from the 1600s, and he's talking about that. So it's been a common thing. Do you know what I mean? From the years. So it just shows you how important it is. Do you know what I mean?
I think we live in a distracted world, like full of distractions constantly.
Totally.
And we spoke about it earlier, and like the amount of people who think they have ADHD now, when they probably just can't focus because they don't have that solitude.
Because they don't ever give themselves that opportunity to focus. Yeah. And then when it comes to a point where they need to focus, they can't, because they don't practice it.
Yeah.
It's something that you need to practice. Like concentration and focus. See, if you don't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. Do you know what I mean? That's one thing that I found, and I wasn't aware of it until you kind of like allowed me to understand that. I'm not scrolling on my phone because I want to scroll on my phone. This is kind of sidetracking a little bit, but I wanted to mention this as well. I'm not scrolling on my phone because I want to see all this stuff. I'm not scrolling on my phone because I want to scroll. I'm scrolling on it because I'm chasing the comfort that it's giving me, and I'm chasing that kind of dopamine hit that it's giving me. And I thought that was so important for me to understand that, because I was starting to think that I couldn't get out of that and I couldn't focus. But see, now that you've let me know that it's the comforts that you're trying to go towards, and having that awareness around about kind of like being used to being yourself and being used to kind of focusing in your mind, that's been a game changer for me as well. So it's just one of those ones that I think that's important. You probably don't want to scroll social media, but you just can't get away from it because you're kind of chasing that kind of comfort. I know it's kind of sidetracked that a wee tiny bit.
No, it's very linked to what you want to say. It's it's usually trying to get away from a feeling.
Yeah, totally.
Is what a distraction is. It's you have a certain feeling, whether it be you feel anxious, you feel angry, you feel annoyed at something, so you try and chase something else that will put you off of it, so it will distract you. And you, like, it's so easy to do because your phone's in your pocket constantly.
Totally.
There's food on the go constantly. It's in your cupboards. It's like all you can see when you go into the shops.
Let's delve a little bit deeper into that, because that was my turning point. Like, I felt like seeing that kind of period of maybe late November to like the kind of Christmas period, I really didn't understand why I couldn't get out of these bad habits, like these bad kind of, like whether that was like indulging in like kind of super palatable foods, whether that was like porn, we spoke about that a few times, whether that was social media. I just felt like I couldn't get out of it, but it was because I was chasing that hit and chasing that hit and chasing that hit, and it was kind of going in a cycle of where I was getting all the kind of dopamine hit from the social media, and then it would kind of drain, like I would get so much of it to where that it's kind of fell below baseline, and then I'd be chasing the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and then you just find yourself going in that kind of cycle. And it was as I say, it was you that made me realise that. How did you learn that? Who did you learn that from again?
I'm sure I learned it from a mental performance coach, when they told me that, like, they sat me down and they were pretty straight with me and said, it was me I wasn't focusing right. I was getting constantly distracted, and it was because of that. It was because I was chasing stuff constantly. It was the constant. I was feeling a certain way, whether it was stressed about having to do work, or whether it was, I don't know, annoyed with something that happened that day, and I would straight away distract myself for, I would say it would only be 10 minutes, but then it would end up half an hour, ends up an hour, and like an hour's gone by, and that means that's an hour that I've not done the things, so the stress goes higher again.
Totally.
And like, then you just want to,
just builds up on it,
builds and it's the exact same like with everyone's going to have situations, everyone's going to have feelings, but not a lot of people are emotionally intelligent where they understand how they're feeling in the moment, and then they come off the back of it. And me and you were not perfect, like
not at all.
Like, I think emotions are like very hard to talk, like say that you're feeling at that moment in time, but
totally.
Like, you realise it an hour after it, you were like, oh, I done that because I was annoyed.
Totally.
Because I was...
Because that's the thing, like, if you take a little look about, like, for example, like, say you had a client and they were like, oh, I just can't stop, like, eating this certain food, or kind of going towards that kind of bad habit. It's probably not down to because they want it so bad, it's probably just because it's bringing them comfort inside of maybe kind of them, it's kind of dampening the, not dampening, sorry, like kind of, how could I put this? They're chasing, as we were saying, they're kind of chasing that comfort, but they think it's just because they've not got willpower, but it's not, it's just because they want to have that good feeling, if that makes sense. And I think that kind of leads us into the next topic we want to talk about, and that's the vulnerability side. I know we got, like, everyone that I've spoke to and kind of face to face, they've said to us that they found it really kind of refreshing how we could be vulnerable in the first podcast, and I think that that's one thing that I've improved on. So my first question to you on that is, why would you say it's important to be vulnerable?
Again, it probably ties back to the emotion situation.
Mm-hmm.
If you you know yourself, like a lot of people will post about this on social media, but it's not good to bottle up your emotions, and you end up
not at all.
like you end up completely stressed.
Busted.
You end up, but yeah, like
Busting.
you end up in a stress state constantly, and if you don't have a way to process that emotion, it's just going to bottle up and bottle up and bottle up. And I feel like vulnerability, it is very difficult to do, especially as a man. Like Jenna actually talked about this, how like she said about us on the first podcast.
Yeah.
It was quite refreshing that we spoke about certain things and went deep on certain things, because guys don't usually talk about that stuff.
Totally.
But I think the reason why is because a lot of people don't have trusted circles
to
where they
talk to.
can do it, and like
Totally.
it's a guy thing. Like we still slag each other all the time, but
100%.
some people slag each other at the wrong times when maybe someone is trying to open up a little bit, and they'll just completely close them off, and then they feel, shit, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I think that's maybe the...
Aye, mate, like, I found I started to get, as you say, like, more vulnerable with people that I've trusted, and that's why I like to talk about it so much, because I'm always, like, thinking about these things in my head, and I always like to get it out with, say, you, Ryan, Dale, my best mate Fraser, like, things like that. See, getting it out, it just makes me feel so much better. Feels like it's kind of weight lifted off my shoulders, and I think that's why it's so important. Because as you say, if you bottle it up and you've got no one to speak to, I think that there's probably a lot of people out there that don't have people to speak to about it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be like. It's a hard one. I feel like if you've just got someone to listen to you, then get it out.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is. Just if you've got someone there to listen to you and hear. Like kind of like hear you out and kind of listen to what you're thinking. I think that it's just about every single time I've been vulnerable with someone, I feel like it's kind of built a little bit of a stronger connection as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It goes back to being kind of relatable as well. Like the more and more people feel like they can relate to you, the more comfortable they are with you. Kind of goes down to kind of comes back to like a coach and client kind of relationship. See, the more and more they feel comfortable with you, the more and more they're going to be vulnerable with you, and then that's when you kind of can delve like kind of a little bit deeper into things. So that's a huge thing for me. That's the biggest thing for me. That's it.
Yeah, 100%. What have you always been able to be vulnerable?
Nah. It's a hard one. I think that one person that really helped me like kind of feel like I could be vulnerable is my dad. Me and my dad have like every single time I'm with him, we have like so much like kind of in-depth vulnerable conversations, and he's like the number one guy when he truly made me believe that being vulnerable is a good thing, and I could be vulnerable. Because of just kind of all the conversations that we've always had. We've always been super tight in that kind of aspect, and we're so similar. Yeah. So we bounce off each other, and we kind of, when we're in situations where we feel like we need to be vulnerable, it just helps us a lot. It just helps us a lot, and yeah, as I say, he's very similar to me, so we've always kind of got similar kind of thoughts in our head, and things we need to get off our chest, and we can kind of relate to each other, which is something that I'll never ever take for granted.
Well, there you go. You've had a trusted confidant like your whole life, then. Like,
totally, 100%. Like, I would say that maybe sometimes I've not. Maybe I didn't start off being vulnerable, but the more and more I started to grow up and understand that being vulnerable is a huge part of life, in being able to speak to your like kind of family members and stuff like that, and feeling safe around them, is a huge thing. So that's I probably didn't start off being being okay with being vulnerable, but now I've definitely learned that.
Yeah, I think it leads back to curiosity, which we talk about all the time, and totally. Obviously we've called this curious conversations. The like vulnerability really is just being curious about your feelings, probably. Like,
for sure.
Like, why am I actually feeling this way? And you know yourself, you were saying about when you get it off your chest, it actually feels better already. But I think it's because when you speak things out loud, it's not bouncing around in your head. So you almost solve your own problem by speaking it out loud to someone.
Yeah.
Like
1,000,000%.
even if I haven't actually said something and I've just listened to you, like something ticks in your head, like, that's actually probably
Mate,
what it was.
I said this to you the other day. It sounds a little bit crazy. I can't lie, but I've like had periods this year where I've literally just started speaking to myself. It sounds insane, but I'm talking to myself the way I would talk to like someone beside me.
Yeah.
Like I'm just speaking what I'm thinking, and I'm speaking to me. And honestly, mate, it helped me so much. Like the 1st of January, I went a walk when I was away for New Year with my family. I went a walk myself up a few like kind of like trails, and I just caught myself like speaking to myself. I was like telling myself how I'm feeling just now and what I need to do to get better, and to like allowing myself to like understand why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. And honestly, if someone seen me from afar, they might have thought I was absolutely crazy. But mate, I can't tell you how much it helped me, because I finished that walk and I was like, I've just got all of that off my chest, and I just feel so good because there was no one with me at the time, so I had no one to speak to, so I was kind of forced to talk to myself, and it was just it just felt so good. So
yeah, mate.
If you're comfortable with doing that, then I would advise it, because it helped me out quite a lot.
Me and you are really weird. Right,
we are weird as shit, bro. We are weird as shit.
Because I do the exact same, except I don't talk out loud. If I've got a problem with myself, like that is coming up over and over again, you should see my WhatsApp chat to myself.
Yeah.
I message myself like a question as if I'm speaking to a client.
You up? Question mark. What are you doing today?
As if I'm speaking to a client, and it's almost as if we always say like we can't listen to our own advice, but we give advice that we need ourselves.
Totally.
But see, when it's like a message that you're actually on WhatsApp and you're messaging yourself about it, it just becomes almost like it's someone else, and then you tell yourself it from a different perspective, and like that's what we do for clients on a daily basis, so why can't we do it for ourselves for a lot of things?
Because we've said so many times, see, like when I've been kind of having a hard time, one thing that you said to me that always stands out in my head is your thoughts aren't real.
Yeah.
Your thoughts aren't real, but see, when you speak it out loud or you text it and put it in front of you, it becomes real.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So thinking about that and like putting it in front of you makes it real. So then in turn allows you to start understanding it a little bit more and giving it a little bit more of kind of respect, and getting a little bit more purchase from it, if that makes sense. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
great idea.
It's like that could be a whole other podcast in itself. Like
that'll be getting noted down for sure.
That conversation. But the one that I always think about with that is like if you're watching a film and say it's an action film and somebody blows up a building and it goes on fire, do you phone the fire engine? No, because it's not real.
Yeah.
And then, but your thoughts aren't real, and you automatically think it is. So it's exactly like that.
It's
your
insane.
thoughts are literally just stories that are made up in your head. Like, if I trip down this stairs, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Like that. They're like the intrusive thoughts that come into your head, and you believe them almost. Like your body reacts as if that's going to be real.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, and that's where like kind of anxious and nervousness comes about, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's mad.
We're going to go down a rabbit hole here.
Yeah, I know. We need to cut that there. Do you want to finish this off by talking a little bit about belief?
Actually, I want to go back to solitude for a second, because we skipped over something that would probably be valuable to people. What ways can we go into solitude? And one that we were kind of talking about earlier on, like with the phone in the room, I think one of the best habits I've ever implemented, or rules almost, in my life, is not allowing your phone to be in your room.
Nah.
Buy an alarm clock. It's like one of the simplest switches I've ever made, but it's one of the most important ones because of that exact reason. Like the whole James Clear and Atomic Habits thing is make the habit easy, and that one right there, it's so hard to still use your phone as the alarm and then not go on your phone when you wake up. So like the easiest thing is we've got a spare room, and I charge my phone in there every day. Every night I go in, put it in, like half an hour before bed, and like it stays in there overnight charging the whole night, and then I get up with an alarm, and it just means that I get up, turn off the alarm, go in, shower, do my thing, and like not on my phone.
That's a really, really good habit. Like that's a really good one. Something that I haven't done. I've not got an alarm clock. I use my phone.
Order that today.
I think I'm ordering that
today.
shit. I'm ordering that alarm clock. Send me the link. But nah, I don't do that. I use my phone, but I think I'm in a habit of understanding that I don't want to, because I'm enjoying like having that solitude. I don't hesitate to like see if my phone goes off, instantly boom, turn it off, and then I'm away.
Yeah.
I'll actually, so what I do is I'll have like in my room, I'll have my phone set up, and then my alarm will go off. It will stay in the room, and I'll leave the room, go into the living room, and like have my coffee, have my electrolytes, and then I'll read my book. Do you know what I mean? I'll take that time, chill, be with myself, and then my phone will stay in that room.
In the room, yeah.
Until I need to use it. So one thing that I do need to do is buy an alarm clock, and so I can keep my phone away. But it's something that I don't really struggle with, just because I put that awareness to it. But probably something that would help me.
Yeah, but you have that awareness. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't have that awareness. So
True,
I think it's
true. It's a good thing to mention. Good thing to mention, because people would maybe kind of subconsciously find that hard. Like,
Yeah.
oh, my phone's my alarm clock. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those ones. That's a good one actually.
Another one that's kind of similar to that. On top of that is an app that I downloaded. Is probably the best investment across last year, 2024. It was someone told me about it, and it's Opal. It's OPAL, and it's like a app blocker.
Yeah.
So I've got it as kind of, so like you're allowed to block certain apps, and you get to call it a name. I can't remember what it is. It's like whatever it is, but I block mine from 9 p.m. at night right through till 6 in the morning when I start work.
Yeah. So you can't get
so
into
I literally can't. I can't get into Instagram. I can't get into WhatsApp.
9 p.m. at night to 6 a.m.
At 9 p.m. at night till 6
6
p.m.
a.m.
You can like set it for whatever you want.
And you can just get that off the App Store.
Yeah, aye.
Sick.
But it's like, I think it's maybe £4 a month or something like that. But
Is it?
that's like the amount that you get off the back of that is
totally
unbelievable. And it even means like if I'm working as well, and I notice myself like getting distracted, like somebody's text me or something, and I've ended up on Instagram, and then I get aware of it. It means I can go onto Opal, I can set a block for an hour, and it's like, you can't go on this for an hour, and put it down. It's like
that's really good as well, because I tend to find anyway, when I'm like, when I'm scrolling, you think to yourself as you're scrolling, I shouldn't be scrolling.
Yeah.
And you continue to scroll.
Yeah.
And then you think in your head like, I need to get off this, and you still don't get off it. Do you know what I mean? So that's a really good one.
What ways do you think others could do solitude? Could get into solitude?
I think that it's a kind of small, gradual kind of installation into your life. Like it doesn't need to be like 5 hours off your phone, or like huge like kind of phone social media detox. Like, we really can't do that if you think about it, because our job is to post content, is to be on socials, and to be accessible to people. So it's a bit tough, but I would say like, it doesn't need to be a lot. I'd say 10 minutes in the morning if you can, before, like with your morning coffee. I always like to do that. I just go back to that because that's what I do. I do it for a little bit longer, but just gradually build it up, I think. So I would say do that in the morning, 10 minutes, just sit and even think about being aware of when you go for a coffee, when you're in a cafe yourself. Just put the phone to the side, put it in your bag, and just enjoy the coffee. Be present and kind of think to yourself, and appreciate getting the opportunity to be alone. So it can be 10 minutes, it can be 10 hours. Yeah. It's just down to kind of what works for you best and where your kind of start point is. So I'd probably say that's the best way to start off.
Yeah, 100%. I think a routine one's probably pretty good. So like
something getting into every single day,
into your morning routine, but being aware of it and having it just like pockets of time throughout the day as well. Like, the one I always think of is when I was younger. Like, I always remember being in a like, see the doctor's waiting room, like when you're waiting on going to the doctor.
Mate, so mad that you say this.
And like
continue, sorry.
And like people used to just be like sitting there, just like chilling. And every time you go into a doctor's waiting room or a dentist waiting room now, every single person's on their phone, even if their kid's sitting there, like playing, or they might have an iPad. Like everyone's on a screen, and like that's always a time that I realise, and I'm like, I'm actually just not going to go on my phone here and just like sit.
That's so mad that you say that, as I say, because that was one of the main reasons that stopped me, like that made me realise that this isn't the norm to do. Like, it's normal now to go on your phone. Do you know what I mean? It's not normal to sit with your own thoughts. How crazy does that sound? When I was in the doctor's office, I was like, that was one kind of thing that pops into my head. It was like a full room of people, and every single one of them was on their phone. And I was on my phone at the time, and I put it in my pocket, and I just started to look about and seen everyone that was on their phone. I think there was a kid sitting beside their mum, and the mum was on the phone, and so was the kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm putting this phone away, put it in my pocket, and every single time now when I go into the doctors, I don't like unzip my pocket to take my phone out, because I'll just sit there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like small things, but these small things add up.
Yeah.
These small things, like, I've only been doing it for like 3-4 weeks, and I see a huge change in my perspective with things, and the way I kind of manage my emotions and my things to do that day or that week. So I think that's so valuable, mate. 100%, 1,000,000%.
Yeah, a good question to probably ask yourself if you're listening to this is, when was the last time I had 2 to 5 minutes where I literally just sat and done nothing?
I know.
Like,
it's hard.
Even
people find it harder than it sounds, doesn't it? People find that hard.
Like back in the day, there's so many of the situations that would have been where you had the chance to just sit with your thoughts and not thinking. On the toilet. How many people spend...
You got them red knees.
Got the red knees because you've been in for 45 minutes.
And you only done a shit for 5 minutes. You've been in the toilet for 45 minutes and the shit took 5 minutes. Like, what the heck? You got those red ass knees because you're too busy on your phone. It's mad. It's insane. It's mad. It's so red knees. Those red ass knees, man. Oh. But that's it. Totally, mate. I think that's one thing that people need to kind of put emphasis on. And yeah.
I think we can wrap that up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
That was amazing.
That was so good.
We go into a little bit of depth,
mate.
And yeah,
that's the way I want these episodes to be. Like, I want to, like, when we're talking about being vulnerable and getting the things off our chest, like, I'm getting these things off my chest and speaking it, so like we can have conversations about it, and I can get your kind of point of view on things, and I feel like that's what makes people kind of attracted to like these topics, when people that they know are speaking about it and kind of speaking about what's worked for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think we went into some seriously good depth there.
It's just perspective shifts. I think that's what we're trying to get into the podcast, of something that's changed our minds, and then hopefully it can kind of reciprocate with whoever listens. And got a couple of exciting things coming up. We've got our first guest on next week. Who is very clever guy, very interesting guy. Going to have him in for our first guest, and we've got that locked in, so that's something to look forward to. Definitely. And we appreciate like all the support so far, like people messaging us and like people taking things away. It's great to hear from us, because like we just wanted to do this for fun.
I think our mood this week has been so high every single day, just because like every single day of this week someone said something about the podcast, and it's just made me feel so happy, because you never really know if you're that relatable. Do you know what I mean? You never really know if you're kind of helping out people the way, until they start to message you, until they start to let you know that you have helped them out. And that stuff means that, I know for you, you're the same, but that stuff means the most to me. So if we're helping out one person, then we're doing good. So
100%. And off the back of that, if we've said one thing that's helped today, and you feel like a friend could do with being a little bit more vulnerable, or
100%.
could have some solitude, or it could just help them at like whatsoever, just share it with them. If they listen to it, they listen to it. If they don't, they don't. Like, it's I always get the most off of podcasts that my pals have shared with me because they think I like it.
Yeah.
Like,
because you've probably spoke about that kind of situation before and stuff like that.
yeah, and it's something.
Totally.
So, yeah, if you liked it, share it with someone.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the
Like,
channel.
Like, share and subscribe. Like, share and subscribe, post notifications. All digi platforms.
Oh no, digital platties.
all digital platties except from Apple Podcast. That's on
It's
Apple
on
Podcast.
Apple Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, and if you want to see our
YouTube.
faces,
Yeah.
we're on YouTube. We've got the Osmo out, so we should
got
be
the
a little
Osmo.
bit more clearer
Yeah.
on the camera.
The blemishes coming out and stuff like that.
I thought you had makeup on today.
Wait, what? We're getting these photos after this. But yeah, wrapping this up, yeah?
Wrapping this up.
Thanks, guys. Let's go, bro.